Excellent. Welcome back to another episode on Beyond Business, and I've got a super exciting guest. I'm not even going to say her name, I'm just going to say the Queen of Sample Clearance. That is her title for today. She is amazing. She can't share a lot of the things that she's done, but she has worked with some of the biggest artists in the world, handled some of the trickiest catalog issues as well, and it's just a kingpin or a queenpin in the music space. But Deborah, I think you'll probably do a lot better than I will on the introduction, so I'll let you take it away.
Well, thanks, Josh. That's so sweet. So you said I'm Deborah. So yeah, I'm Deborah Mannis-Gardner, DMG Clearances. Been doing sample clearances since 1990. I opened my business doors on my own January 1st, 1996. And, you know, it's been evolving ever since. We were told that hip hop and rap was a fade and wasn't going to last, a phase rather. And I found it to be an incredible art that was almost rebellious, if you will, because I was punk rock and I really related to it. And there weren't any rules when we started. We helped create the rules, and we're evolving as technology changes. When we used to do clearances, when they were told it wasn't going to be around hip hop, we did buyout deals. So I would get James Brown for a $500 buyout from Me Fi Me. But then it stuck around, so then they turned it into a penny rate, which is pretty, arrogant of Americans to think that everyone uses pennies. So eventually, then that turned into a royalty. But then we had to think about, the world of streaming as
Hmm.
well as keeping in my digital downloads. And so we had to, change that value again. And so I guess what I find exciting is that deals that we did in 1990 are completely different in 2025. And they'll probably be very different in 2028 because of the technology and the way music is made, and how deals should be structured. We shouldn't be set in concrete and think whatever we established then is how we should do it now. So it's fun.
I can imagine it's super fun. I can, the amount the people that you've worked with, oh, it must be so cool. I'm kind of jealous, to be honest, for what you've done so far.
I mean, they're just like us, except they have bigger bank accounts. But I have really lovely clients. I work with Drake. I used to work with Kendrick. I did Pump a Butterfly, DJ Khaled, Jay-Z, Tyler the Creator. Has a very special place in my heart. My mom was in hospice and dying, and I was actually working on his new album. And it was his music that was really keeping me going and got me smiling. And so when I met up with him at his show, I mean, we were just hugging because it just did so much for me. And he got excited because I was like bopping in my chair as I was listening to the music. He's like, "You were just like evaluating it. You were enjoying it." And that was really special for him. Um, I work with Beyonce's team, who are just beautiful people. And so I try to make sure that myself and my team are always surrounded with clients that are good and understanding and respectful. I think that's really important. What we're doing is clearing samples or clearing music for film or television or podcast. I mean, we're a music and licensing company. But we're not curing cancer and we're not working on world peace. And we have to keep that in mind. What we're doing is something important to that creative person, but as Khaled says, family first. And so I think I'm really lucky that I don't have to work with people that are disrespectful. And I do turn down people that I don't care for their political stands. And it's sad that we're in this time in our life that we even have to do that.
Hmm.
Now, 15 years ago, if someone was a Republican and someone was a Democrat, it didn't matter. You had conversation, you had disagreement, you talked. That is not what it's like in the United States. And music is really a component in it. I worked on the Biden campaign, and
Hmm.
I was the one that cleared Lose Yourself the weekend before the election. That was like the number one streaming thing to get the people to get out and vote for Joe Biden. We did work on the Harris campaign. Um, we did some amazing stuff there. Um, and the Republicans don't clear the music. And I was reporting it every day. Every time Trump didn't clear some music, I reported it. Because music does drive people. Music is part of your life every single day. And music has a value and should never be deemed free. If you're willing to pay for a bottle of water, if you're willing to pay for a cup of coffee, why shouldn't you pay for the music that you listen to? Why shouldn't that artist, that writer, that producer be financially compensated for what they're giving you? When you're in a taxi, in a movie theater, in the lobby of something, in the mall, when you're shopping, you are always hearing music. When you're at a wedding, everything is tied to music. So it should have a value, it should be treated with respect, and those people should be financially compensated.
I
Another
completely
platform.
agree. Yeah, I agree because it's like it's a different form of reproduction, right? If you wrote a book, if you did a painting, like you'd want people to be paid for it every time someone bought it, someone read it, someone saw your painting. Like I completely agree. I yeah, completely agree. That's the fairest way to do it because it's their work, their creation, their money at the end of the day. Which yeah, I agree. What got you into like actually launching the business first? Like what did you do before this?
You mean for launching DMG? I mean, I
Yeah.
was in-house at RCA Record. I mean, it starts in 1990 where there was a company in the UK called Diamond Time, owned by a guy by the name of Bruce Hyam, and he was opening up a US office, and he hired this woman, Kathy Carapella, who hired me. I was doing music videos because I went to Emerson College and really had a degree in mass communication and television production, and I had a minor in creative writing, French, and theater. And so I was doing videos. And so I kind of learned how to do music clearances from this woman, Kathy, at Diamond Time. But the hip hop and rap was just launching and samples were just launching and there weren't rules or structure for anything like that. And so I was there in the forefront. So I was there for a couple years. Then Skip Miller, who has since passed away, and the president of RCA was Joe Galante. Head of legal was Carol Fenelon. They brought me in-house. They had signed Wu-Tang Clan. They had done a deal with Levert. They had SWV. So they were really growing their hip-hop and rap and R&B. And so I came in-house to guide them on how to make sure things were cleared properly. Like, so I'd be in marketing meetings and someone would come with this brilliant idea and I'm like, you need to clear that. So I was kind of like the angel of death. I didn't say no. I would just tell them this is what we need to do, and then I would do it.
Hmm.
I was there just under 2 years. I really didn't like working in a corporation. Um, and so Joe was going back to Nashville. Bob Jameson then became the head of RCA, and I said, I like you, Bob, no disrespect, but I want to go out on my own. And you're going to save money because I'm going to just charge you a flat monthly rate. And you don't have to pay my taxes. You don't have to pay my health insurance. And it's not exclusive. And so I went to RCA, and this is when different labels weren't all bought by each other. So I deal with RCA, Arista, Epic, Columbia, and Elektra, and
Okay.
Def Jam. So I went to all the labels and did
Only one that
individual.
rings a bell was a Columbia.
And what I did is I did like a flat rate with each company, and so I knew that I could make a certain amount of money each month. I was newly married. I just bought a house, and I quit my job, and I was the breadwinner. And I was like, you know what? Sink or swim. Went all in. And so I opened my doors January 1st, 1996. We just had a huge snowstorm, 5 feet of snow where I was, and the business came in. And I set up my company. This was pre-COVID, but my company was based on everyone being able to work from home. And the idea was, if you were a mom and there was a snow day or a kid was sick, you'd still be able to work because you worked from home. And so that's how I built up my company. It was mostly women that were working for me. And it was going well. We didn't have the technology. We didn't have all the cloud servers. I was buying big servers,
Hmm.
to store everything as a
Wow.
backup. And then after 9/11, I moved to Delaware. I was in New York and I moved back to Delaware where my family was from. And we stayed here. And so as we've grown, I think we're up to 13 or 14 people. We're all over the world. And we are still, everyone works from home. And there's no reason to pay that overhead. And I really thought COVID was going to prove to everyone that you don't need to have people in an office. I found that people were working as many hours and just as hard working from home than being in the office and being, watched.
Yeah.
I know
Agreed.
some companies take the opinion in the industry, camaraderie or interaction. And I get that, but I still don't think you need to be there 5 days a week. And
I
so
agree.
we also, um, again, being American and you having medical, we don't in the States. When I opened my company, I set it up so that it was to pay 100% of the health benefits for my employees. And then as the company grew, I also included any spouses that didn't have health insurance or children that weren't covered. And I covered 100% of that. And what you find, and so salaries might be a little bit lower at my company than other places, but I'm also paying 100% health benefits, and then retirement plans as well. And so the
Wow.
whole concept is before all of this stuff even existed in the States, but it was to make it so that people are loyal to you when you give them all that kind of stuff, and that people are taken care of. So it's been fun.
I like that, and ultimately, those principles have gotten you to the size, in a sense, and the level that you've gotten at because you've had those core principles towards your staff right from the beginning. Right.
Absolutely. And if someone's rude to my client, to my staff, I usually let them go and I'll cut them a check and I'll refund their money. I really, believe that everyone needs to be treated with respect.
Great. And across the decades, has have your values changed on your approach towards staff, towards clients, towards deals?
So with staff, I actually prefer people who are not from the music industry, and
Okay.
so quite a few of my staff are from education or from customer service. I find them to be more patient. Um, Client wise, we don't really turn anyone away unless they're disrespectful, but we're there. We do educational stuff, we give guidance, we give advice. We have a boilerplate letter that we send out to people so they have the idea of our fees are the lowest fees when it comes to clearances. It's your licensing fees. Our website is so transparent, it lists what our fees and services are right on our website, where a lot of companies don't do that. So we try to be very transparent. Um, I think, again, I've been doing this as long as I have to learn to be patient because I keep forgetting we're now working on third or fourth generation of people sampling that don't necessarily understand the whole basis or concept of it. And so those new clients I usually trickle down to my staff to handle, where maybe I'm handling the more established, bigger clients that are a little bit more intense, where I have to be on a Zoom call playing the music to the sampled copyright holders and being really on point. Where we have a couple of people who are just amazing. Again, their background, customer service, education. So they have that patience to explain and hold people's hands. Because we need to be able to help everyone, from those who don't understand and need hand holding to those that need a clearance done in 24 hours. And so we have a great mixture of people.
Good. And essentially, yeah, I had the conversation with somebody earlier. It's about like having a team, having a company. It's almost like a soccer team, right? You need a striker to score the goals. You need a defender to save the goals from going in. You need a midfielder to control it around the pitch. And it's similar in a team, right? You can't have 10 problem solvers. You need probably three problem solvers, three creatives, right? And that's what builds a team. I guess just for everyone watching, like what is I guess the core services that DMG actually provides for people.
So we do sample clearances.
Hmm.
We also handle mechanical licensing. We handle remixes. We handle translations and adaptations. On the sync side, it's podcasts, which really isn't sync, but we've kind of pushed that over into the sync department. We do television. We do film. We do video games. We handle all of Rockstar games like Grand Theft Auto. Um, Oh my goodness. And then we also consult new technology. So I work with someone who has an AI business. And so we do give guidance for companies because it makes sure that the copyright holders are paid. We call it ethical AI. So we've kind of dipped in all of that stuff. When there's something we don't do, like I really don't enjoy clip clearances, and so we usually direct other people who enjoy it. I think what's important is as a business, you offer a service that you're really good at, but if it's something you don't really know or don't have the bandwidth, that you make sure you pass it on to someone else so that the client doesn't hurt by that.
Agreed, agreed. And one thing that I wrote down just because you picked out, you mentioned Rockstar, right? And obviously, I'm sure Rockstar is one of the biggest names within the gaming industry, and I see all about it. Have you done any work for GTA 6 by any chance? Just out of curiosity.
I'm doing all the music clearances for GTA 6.
Wow. Okay, that's really cool. So did any of the delay have to do with you?
No, I mean, they will only release something when it's ready to be released. They're very particular. They want everything to be perfect. One of my favorite clients, as a matter of fact, that whole team from Take Two and Rockstar are coming to my wedding. I mean, they are the most amazing, fantastic client you could ever want. And I've been working with them since San Andreas. So I've been doing
Wow.
GTA longer than a lot of the employees that are there.
Yeah, I mean, I started playing it in Vice City, so
Yeah. And the thing is, it's never been the music that's held up a game, ever. It's, like GTA 5 took a long time because the platforms changed. So we had to make sure that the rights that we secured fell in line with the product. The platform, opened up UGC, user generated content.
hmm.
So we had to go back, and then UGC kept changing. So we had to keep going back to make sure. So it's not the music per se, it's to make sure that you have everything cleared properly. And that's what they do. They clear everything. I mean, most of the gaming companies do. I mean, I've been an advisor. I've worked with EA years ago, giving guidance and Activision, Turtle Studios. So I mean, I'm there, but my my focus and my team is GTA. I mean, and that's that until the game comes out.
That's really cool. I just wanted to know because yeah, I think that the entire world and probably most people watching this will want to know something about GTA 6. So that's super exciting. Wow, you really are the queen. You really built an empire that have gotten you there. And I guess like more to yourself. I guess your actual mind, building the business. I guess was there moments where you thought it wouldn't work, or did you always kind of know you were heading into the trajectory that I guess you're going towards, and you are now?
Right. So two people were there to help me with that. One was Mike Selvern. So Selvern and Mandelbaum were the law firm. They were like the law firm back in the 90s. They had
Okay.
Wu-Tang Clan, they had Britney. I mean, they were the. And they're still around. Mike has gone down to Asheville and does his own thing. And Tim Mandelbaum is, I think, with Fox Rothschild and does more sports stuff, but still like Riz's attorney. Um, and I had approached Mike before I went to RT, and I said, let me come in house and work at your law firm and clear samples. And he's like, no, this is something you should really do on your own. So he was kind of like my beacon of light. And he's the one who named me DMG. When I got married back then, my name is Deborah Mannis, and I married a gentleman by the name of Scott Gardner. And so I became Mannis-Gardner. And he's like, that's too long. I'm just going to call you DMG. And so that's how I got my name. So there was an attorney that I worked with at RCA Records who also then went to work for Mike Silver by the name of David Gold. And
Okay.
David Gold was who's now over at Sterling Rooks, and he was like kind of like guided me and helped me in the beginning with
Hmm.
everything. And it was like I created two books: what it would look like to be in the positive and what it would look like to be in the negative,
Hmm.
and to know how much money I needed to make and what I needed to do each month. So I started really simple and very slow, and then I just built it up. So they
So you, in
they
a
were
sense,
they were the ones that they were my
yeah,
light. They were definitely my beacon of light.
that helped you kind of guide you through the process and go from there. And then you go for that. And obviously, every business has struggles. Every business has, great times, has bad times, right? And I guess for you personally, when there is times where, things weren't going the way that you were going to do, I guess number one, if you're allowed to say what what happened, and I guess how did you bounce back from that?
So knock on wood, DMG's been very lucky, and we've always been in the positive, and we've always done very well. And
I'll knock
so
on wood as well. There we go.
yeah, so as a person who's always fearful, I always make sure I have a certain amount of money in the bank account to make sure that there's X amount of months for salaries. But it's scary when you then are responsible for the livelihood of so many people for their salaries and health care and everything. It's scary. I think the hardest time though, my my son's father took his life in 2017. I was out in LA at the premiere of The Defiant Ones.
Okay.
I was divorced at the time, but I was still, friends with him and, raising our son together. And my world just kind of bottomed out because I never really dealt with death before.
Mm-hmm.
And my clients and my staff just jumped in and just held me up so that I did not follow. And my son was in Europe on a school trip, and so I kept it from him until he came home. And I just had this team of people around me who helped me through that. And I'm very loyal to those people, and they are loyal to me because they were there. And what that teaches you, kind of like Cal says, family first. And
Mm-hmm.
these people, I although I was raised in a nuclear family, I didn't raise my son in a nuclear family. Like, we had friends that would live with us that needed a place to live, that or producers or artists and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was very non-nuclear, and it has continued that way. And so when DMG isn't just my team, they're my family. And some of my clients I consider family. So when I said the people from Rockstar and Take Two are coming to my wedding, it's because they're my family.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and and that's how I run my business. And sometimes people are like, that's kind of scary. Like, my fiance works here. My sister does our bookkeeping.
Mm-hmm.
My cousin is an employee here. My friend of 58 years, who was a school teacher and needed to be around for her son because he had ADHD, and so she felt as though she needed a job working from home. She works for me. She's been with me. Oh my God, I think Janice has been with me now 15 years, or maybe even longer. And people are like, well, isn't there that concern or that line that you could be crossing? And it's no. Everyone, you got to treat with respect. You have to be honest with everyone, um, and we all just come together.
Great. It's it's similar to I joined this community a while ago, which kind of got me into the AI space, the online space, and there was something that I still remember. That's what the sales guy said to me when he was pitching. Like, it's not a community, like it's just a family, right? And like the people that I've met there now, I would definitely consider some of them family because that's how it goes. And with clients as well, like I would only work with someone. Like Stacey says this, right? I would only work with someone if I would invite them round to my house and I'd have dinner with them, right? This is what Stacey said. I completely agree. And I guess when you went into the business, did you have this belief of family, or did something happen which made you be like, okay, this is how it's gonna go going forward?
So I've always had that mentality.
Hmm.
So when I lived in New York, I lived in a loft with a bunch of friends. This giant, I think it was 4,000 square foot loft on Lafayette
Wow.
between Grant and Broome, like in the Soho area. And it had 3 bedrooms, and then we had a tent set up as our guest room. And we would go to Chinatown because it was very inexpensive then, and we would just pick up food. And we would make big pots of food. And then people that we knew or that were having a hard time, we would invite over to eat. We would take care of each other. And I think that mentality just always has flowed into everything I've done. People kind of laugh at me, like when I have people over for dinner, they all go home with leftovers. I always make sure I go to the dollar store to get containers so that everyone can bring stuff home.
Amazing.
And maybe it's like a mother figure or a family figure or what it is. It's just that's just who I am.
Hmm.
Even with my son with his friends, they all used to come over here, and I would feed them and let this be the hangout. So it's just who I am. I think as a person, I've just always trying to please people, but also making sure people are taken care of. And so that kind of flows over into the work field. And I kind of wish companies would do that because I think they would be in a much better place.
Hmm.
And I don't take a giant salary either. I take a regular salary just to make sure that there's money for my staff. And that should be common sense.
Hmm.
In the United States, the CEOs of these corporations are taking millions and billions of dollars and barely paying minimum wage or keeping their employees less than full time so they don't have to get health insurance.
Hmm.
And people wonder why there isn't loyalty or longevity in a job. Loss of respect between human beings is horrible and growing. And it almost feels like we're back to the 15 and 1600s, which of course our country didn't even exist. So we're talking about Europe and other places where you had serfs and you had royalty.
Hmm.
You had the ruling class and the working class. And that's what industry is doing it now.
Yeah.
And we're going backwards. We haven't learned. But I will never change that. I even got a life insurance policy on my company so that my staff will be taken care of in case something happens to me.
Amazing.
Because I'm responsible for those people and their
Yeah.
families.
I could not agree more, to be honest. It's the reason probably most of the world isn't happy with their work or their job because, like, why should they be? They're on minimum salary doing 10 times the amount of work the CEO is doing at the top, right?
And why
I
aren't people being respectful to other people? What happened to the words, excuse me or pardon me, when you're in a store and you need to get to something?
we've still got
Or,
that in the UK.
no, I'm sure that, no, that's everywhere. I know that. It's just human interaction. And that,
Yeah.
maybe we blame cell phones. I don't know. But I mean, there's that lack of connecting. Like when you're walking in our neighborhood and you say, hey, how you doing? Stop, wait for the answer before you keep walking. Otherwise, just
Hmm.
say hello. Don't say how you doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
Agree, yeah. It's we've lost the touch and the art of communicating, right? In my opinion, because obviously I see it all day long. Everyone is very numbers, ROI, ROI. Like guys, like how's your day been? You know?
And I'm the opposite. If someone was to ask my number, like if someone said, would you do more sample or sync? I'm like, I don't know. I'd have to ask my accountant or my bookkeeper. I don't know off the top of my head. It feels like something, but I never look at my numbers. I opened up another business in October of 2023 with Stacy and Per Almquist, who is the creator of TrackLab, and he's all about numbers. He builds companies. I'm like, that bores me. Bores me. Numbers bore me. Give me a sample to clear. Give me Love
Yeah,
Hangover. Do that music. Let me go clear that for you. But numbers bore the hell out of me. And numbers don't represent who and what I am.
completely agree. And I think for you specifically, because you've got the culture around your business, right? It's like numbers aren't what we do. We want family, we want people we like, and we want to have a good time together. I couldn't care less about the numbers. And yeah, I think that's exactly how the world should be run. And I think you mentioned cell phones as well. Like, it's very easy to blame things. The reason, people are rude now because of cell phones. Like, sure, people are distracted by cell phones, but like, if we go back down to the core beliefs of people, there's no respect or not as much.
There isn't, but it's not being taught either.
Yeah.
In my house raising my son, we didn't use phones at the dinner table, and we actually sat down and ate breakfast together and dinner together. And there was a rule with my clients: don't call me during dinner. That's family time, and they all respected that. I mean, when Curtis was born, he was like on a bouncy seat on my desk. But family first, communication. Talking. It's really. And so when I say the blame of cell phones, I think parents need to put limitations on cell phones with their kids so
Hmm.
that they aren't as obsessed with it as well. So, I say I'll have a cell phone at the table because I'm waiting for a call from a client. I'm in the midst of an album deadline, but it's not like you see me doing that on weekends or stuff like that. So, I mean, that's the running joke. Everyone's like, is Deborah going to have a phone in her hand at the wedding going down the aisle? I'm like, no, I promise, I won't.
Get an AirPod in instead. Nice, nice. Well, I completely agree, to be honest with you. I think family time is the most important time, and clients should also be exactly the same way. But I want to ask a question because this is my world, the AI world that I'm in, right? And I can imagine it has blown your world into different territories that it probably was never in before. And I'm curious, like, how has AI, content production, everything, like, actually changed your world? Like, has it been hard to adapt to? Do you hate it?
We created rules. So when people fill out a sample form explaining what they've sampled, we actually have language in there asking if AI was used to create the sample, and then we ask, if it's a sound alike. Because if AI is used because you have zero singing capability, and so you had AI create the singer, but not to sound like anyone, but just to sing a vocal, I don't have a problem with that, and then we clear whatever they sang, whoever's
Hmm.
composition it is. If they've done it to recreate something so they don't have to clear the master, we immediately say no. that's wrong. You can't do that. Again, I'm an advisor to an ethical AI company called Lemonade.
Mm-hmm.
I feel very strongly that if the technology is there to grab information everywhere, then why can't you code it where you're getting it so that if it's used, they can be compensated for it?
Hmm.
It's was it Justine Bateman who I saw did an interview about AI where, and you can Google this, where she's talking about, AI companies saying, I have the right to use it, it's accessible, like a movie, a TV, whatever. And she says, well, I'm walking down the street and I see a car. It's accessible. So if I get in that car and drive away with it because it was accessible to me, is it theft? Well, yes, it is. So just because something is available online, accessible, why should that be deemed free to use and manipulate? I think AI is a futuristic sampling, if you will. The concept of sampling was either lifting a pre-existing copyrighted, altering it, incorporating it into a new song, or re-recording, altering, and incorporating it into a new song. We had to get permission, we would have to negotiate a deal, and they'd be financially compensated. Why isn't AI the same thing? If you're pulling it from someplace else, where you're pulling it from, why is that deemed free? And then you then get to earn the revenue off of someone else's words or music or likeness. There's my problem with AI, and I think AI should be treated that way. And I'm sure I'm just pissed off a shitload of people, a boatload of people, about AI. Nothing should be free if it was created by someone else.
To be honest, I was wondering when you started speaking, I was like, I wonder if I'm going to agree with this. But I actually agree. Yeah, I think that's how it should be. Because, like, from my opinion, if I made a song, I would want to get paid for every time it gets played, personally. And I know the artists feel exactly the same way.
But then it's even more, like in the world of sync licensing. A lot of artist or writers' contracts have stipulation like if it has feminine hygiene, if it's political, if it's alcohol, if it's cigarettes, if it has the N word, they don't want their music used. Well, this should also apply in AI with images. So if someone takes my image and uses it for something else and it's negative or derogatory, I should be able to stop it. AI kind of scares me, especially in the political world, especially, AI is used to falsify information, which people then believe. And everyone seems to be dismissing laws, and there needs to be laws. Just like there's copyright laws for sampling, there should be copyright laws for AI. And the company should not be able to make all that money for free.
I completely agree. It's you can do some crazy things, even with like ChatGPT, like a base model alone that you don't even have to pay for. Like you can build some crazy things. Like I built a sales assistant that runs everything. I just trained it for prompts and it just does everything for me. Right? And like that's free. Like what?
Right.
Is a crazy world. But I wonder. I really do wonder what it's going to be like for you in 10 years' time from now. Like, do you have any predictions of what it could even look like?
Well, in 10 years, I'll be 70, so I'd like to think I might be semi-retired because I'm
Okay.
60 already. Um, but in 10 years, samples are still going to be around. People keep telling me that this wasn't going to last. And it has. I mean, it's been, 36, so, hip hop's been around for 50 years. So I think it's going to keep going. I think it's going to go in that direction.
Yeah, and do you think like the technology to come in the next 10 years could change that core processing, like the processes that you have now? Do you think it would like completely put it upside down, or what do you think?
I don't. Music is made manually, if you will. I mean, it
Hmm.
takes thought and direction, and then when you incorporate it, there have been a lot of people who've tried to create companies to automate sample and sync clearances. And Tracklib partially did it, but we were limited as to what songs were going to go in there. But it was never going to have an Isaac Hayes or a James Brown or a Kool and the Gang, or even like a Solange or anything. It's limited. People have tried to create the same thing with sync. And because there are restrictions in contracts, because let's not forget music, like all art, is emotional. It's all emotional. And the people who create the music, whether they're writing it or performing it, want to have a final say on how their stuff is used. And so I believe that there's always going to be human contact involved in that stuff.
I think it needs to be honest. If you want to maintain the creativity and the personalized side to it, I think it needs to be.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's amazing. I've got one more question to ask you, and then we'll go from there. But for people that are watching it, because you've got such a broad understanding of the legal side to it, I guess if every artist, or let's say like a rights holder, could adopt maybe like one mindset or a value or some sort of legal clarity from you, what would it be?
Well, let me make a comment. I'm not an attorney, and I've
Okay.
never gone to law school. I'm a
Good to
licensed
mention
clearance.
this before you answer, by the way. Very good to mention this before you answer.
I'm just a clearance agent. Um, so, in saying that, do you want to revise your question?
Sure. Let me revise the question. If any like artist or rights holder could take one bit of advice from you about sampling, releasing their music, anything, what would it be? There you go.
It would be if you've incorporated someone else's copyright in your song, clear it first. Get permission, secure a quote out of respect. Because you'd want someone to do the same with you if they utilized your material.
There we go. Well, Deborah, thank you very much for having me on. And yeah, it's been a pleasure talking to you.
My pleasure.
Excellent. Let me press